I don't think you can compare what happened last year with what happened in 1981. 2011 and 81 were very different. Because at the end of the day, 1981 was an uprising. True, there was a criminal element that came along and got involved and tried to take the opportunity to steal some stuff. But it was an uprising. It was an uprising against an oppressive policing system, against an oppressive economic state, a depressed and deprived neighborhood where people were not being listened to and where people were not represented. And it was sparked off by a particular policing operation in 1981 and by the killing and wounding of a particular individual in 1985. 2011 was almost like sort of shopping with violence. You know, there was an element of just pure opportunistic criminality and planned criminality. And I didn't feel that the economic circumstances and the circumstances of policing were in any way comparable with those that occurred in 1981. But from all such incidents, you have to learn one lesson, that something is terribly wrong. Now, I think it's a different thing in 2011. You know, in 1981, black people were not participating in the economy. They were not represented on the local authority in Parliament. They were not members of the police force. There was no police authority to hold the police to account. Young people were disrespected and had nothing. You know, it was a bad situation. 2011, something else is going on, and it's not that. But it is something. There is a sense of alienation, undoubtedly. There is a sense of a breakdown of community and responsibility, one for the other. And there is a totally sort of amoral approach to acquisition. It seems to be okay just to take if you can. Now, that tells us something about the state of our society. So we need to listen to that and to learn from it. And we've got to find a response that isn't just about the criminal justice system and locking people up. We've got to ask ourselves how we build stronger and more respectful communities, how we give young people in particular a sense that they've got a stake in society, but how we take a greater degree of responsibility for our own lives and our relationships with others. Because what was striking too about 2011 were that there were people taking part who had jobs, who had careers, who had a whole heap going for them. It wasn't as if it was a action simply by the dispossessed. There was something else at work that I think is very worrying. So we shouldn't just have a knee-jerk reaction and say, well, lock them all up. That may be, the criminal justice system has to be part of it, but we also have to ask ourselves, where as a society are we going? How can we recapture our sense of community and our values? And I always think too, it's quite interesting to look at communities that didn't riot last year. I mean, I happen to live in one, in Wembley and in Harlesden, where are also diverse, multiracial communities, where there are a whole heap of issues, but there weren't riots, and there weren't people behaving as they behaved in Croydon. So we need to ask, what are we doing right as well as what are we doing wrong, and how can we do more that is right to stop this sort of thing?